Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Edna White, and you are on Keeping It Real on Purpose, which happens every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. I am so glad you're with us today, and this is the podcast for all around women where we challenge your everyday thinking and limiting beliefs around life, relationships, and your business to help you live your life purposefully. Tonight's guest, which I'm totally excited about, is Miss Patricia Love. She is the best-selling author of Seen and Unheard. So, ladies and gentlemen, get in your seats, get your listening ears on, and even get your pen and paper, because she might be telling us something great. Welcome, Patricia Love.
Well, thank you for having me, and I'm just thrilled to be here, and thanks for the opportunity. It's going to be fun.
It is. It has already begun. Audience, we have been talking prior to this. And
We're Kisma. We're already Kisma. We're aligned.
We are already in love with each other. Already.
That's right.
We are already in love. And she has the most amazing name, Love. So I thank you for being here. Thank you for, not calling it robbery that you wouldn't just step in and be here. I'm really excited. So tell us get started about how Patricia Love shows up in life.
Well, how I show up now is positively every day in the moment. If you,
Good stuff.
I really intentionally work on doing that every day. It's something that's not something that just happens. It's something that I work on because I believe that we're all a work in progress.
Sure.
It does get easier and easier the more I do it, but it's very important for me to stay as positive and in the moment as possible, because that's when I have the most gratitude. And a lot of it stems from, because my whole life changed really when about 13 years ago when I was 57. And before that, I was living a life of very bad behaviors, you might say, repeating bad behaviors, and always wondering why I was never getting good results, because I was just repeating the same thing over and over again. And sometimes those things catch up with you. And they actually caught up with me when I was at 57 years of age. And my mom died, my husband left, I had been through a couple marriages. I was in debt. I was 40 or 50 pounds overweight. And it just everything kind of came to a head. And I had to stop and say, whoa, something's got to give here, because I can't continually keep doing the same hamster wheel over and over again. And that day, I made the decision that day to take my power back. Now, when I say that, I don't want to make it sound like, oh, it was a snap. I took power back, all was good.
It is not. It is not.
No, it's a work in progress.
Yes, it is.
Certainly like 2 steps forward sometimes and 1 step back, and sometimes 2 steps back. But I always knew that I had to move forward, even if it was just a baby step or a turtle step or whatever you want to say it. And I'm so glad I have, because I've written books, and my whole life changed. Not in debt anymore. I'm in the black. I have just a life full of positive stuff and growing all the time. Because a lot of people say, well, you're too old to change, and you're too old to do this. No, you're never too old.
Never.
You can do and change if you want to, and if you are willing to embrace change and work at it. And man, life does life can give you lots of love if you actually want to love it.
Right. Absolutely. I totally agree with everything you just said. I really do. So we know, because audience, you don't know, but we are realtors in common in different areas. So holler to the realtors. Hey. So I'm so excited about meeting another realtor, a woman who has encountered a male-dominated industry.
Absolutely.
So I want you to talk about that.
Okay.
Let's go.
Let's go. What am I going to say? Well, I have been in a man industry all my whole life, honestly. I was also in the retail business prior to real estate. and that was man dominated also. And I was constantly, running up against, sexism, less than, you're just a girl, you
Mm-hmm.
can't do this, you can't do that, and then just sexual windows all the
Oh
time.
my gosh. Isn't
Yeah.
that the truth?
Yeah, and it actually never stops. Even as you think as you mature, and you get less, you
Nope.
get
It gets
30s and
worse.
40s. It doesn't end. 50s. I thought, when you get to 60s,
No, it goes higher.
yeah. I'm like, God, I guess these guys just still don't get it. I don't
Still
know.
boys, still boys.
There'll always be boys, I guess. But for me, it was it. I chose to go into the world of sales, and the
Mm-hmm.
reason being is because how I grew up, I wasn't encouraged to do anything. To be
Right.
honest, I wasn't encouraged to go to school. Wasn't encouraged to get like a degree or anything. It was more like, oh, you're just a girl. You just need to be seen and not heard. That was primarily
Right.
what it was. And so I didn't learn that. So I learned that, and my dad was a salesperson. So I learned from him because I was smart though, and I
Mm-hmm.
learned from him. And so I said, well, okay, well, I can go and make money this way. So, but not knowing what I really was getting into as far as working in a man's world, and it was constant, you know, uh, of actually making me feel less than. But yet I began to what I call wear a mask. So I'd be
Mm-hmm.
this tough external outside,
Mm-hmm.
and then when I'd be home, it'd be like, oh my God, I cry, it's like, I got to be this person. I got to, I got to fake it to make it type
Yeah.
thing. Because
Heard that a lot. Heard that a lot.
yeah, I have to show up and be tough and strong.
Yep.
And so it really made it difficult for me in relationships because a lot of men don't like that either because you're
No.
kind of a tough girl, and, but sometimes I had to be tough and strong to get by.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of women out there that feel the same way, that they feel like they have to be this tough person on the outside in their careers, but then we suffer in our personal life because
Yep.
I couldn't. I was going through relationships
That's excellent.
because I didn't understand them. I didn't know how they worked, and so I was always looking for love in all the wrong places.
Excellent. That's right.
Probably giving my body out too much because I just didn't know and understand why I wasn't getting things back in return.
Right.
I thought maybe buying things would make it better. Like my dad bought me things, so that's how he gave me his love. So there was a lot of little nuances in there that really kind of created some problems and behavior problems for me, and lack of confidence internally.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you know that the male industry kind of took that from us because we had to become, and let's be honest, we had to become the bitch in the industry. We had to become that.
We had to become the bitch.
We had to become the bitch. We had to become like, okay, they're coming after us. We had to get tough as nails with all the sexual innuendos. Oh, you wearing your heels today? You go to a new construction, got sneakers on. Oh, you wearing heels today? All this stuff on. We got to deal with all of that. And yet, and I know you probably felt this, is we get this amazing house that no one else could get. Right? No one else. I remember getting a house in Southampton one time. No one thought, like, where did you get this house from? How did you list this house?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they're walking, so we're doing a broker walkthrough. We invite all the brokers and they walk,
Sure.
and they're giving me the look, how did you get this house? Where did you get the information?
Yeah. What did you do?
What did you do? And they're looking at me like this. And that even demeans you, like, what, am I doing something wrong? You're asking yourself in the back of your mind all along, like you said, wearing the mask, smiling, and it really wasn't real. It's like, oh man, you go home, you're doubting yourself, and you get out and you do it again. You do it again.
But you go home and feel like crap.
Right, you go home, you feel like crap. Everything's terrible. Now, don't sell it all cash. I sold this house all cash. All cash at the asking price.
Nice.
In 2 days. Okay, what did you do? They're grilling me. I'm like,
yeah. Oh yeah. Now they want to know what you did and how.
Yes, how I did it. Now
because they want something from you.
Yes, now they want something from me. So now I'm being grilled. Cooper, that's my dog. Audience, Cooper. He's always acting out. So. They want to ask you, now they're asking you all this information. They want to put you at the head of the class now.
Right. Right.
but you
Yeah,
don't know
I
anything.
totally get that because when I was in the retail business, I was a territorial. I was probably one of two women out of 30 men, and my
Wow.
territory was the Northwest. And
Wow.
I actually won, the top salesperson at the time. They called me salesman.
Wow. Yeah,
Salesperson.
right.
Salesperson. And all these men were like, "What?
Yep.
What she did, or what
Mm-hmm.
you just you got." And it's not. I'm sure not all of them were giving me that look, but you get that look so much
That
that
you
it's
don't
like
trust anybody else. You
you
don't
don't
trust
trust
it.
anybody, so you
Mm-mm.
lose a lot of trust in
Yep.
in men and people in general,
Right.
because you feel like you're always having to step up and be that one step above them or beyond them,
Exactly. Exactly.
and still try to get your way without being bitchy. But I was called a bitch a lot.
Oh yeah, me too.
you
And
know
still am getting that. Still
yeah,
in this day and age, I like
yeah.
what you're saying, Patricia. We're already in sync already, so we're gonna get right to your book, Seen
Okay.
and Unheard. Tell us about that being the bestseller of. I love the title. So break it apart for us. What happened? How did you just start creating this?
Well, it's so interesting because I've actually had this book in my head.
Ah,
Okay.
like
And
it.
it's really a memoir of
Okay.
my life growing up and behaviors and men controlling my life, and all that. So it's basically it's written in the context of lots of stories,
Okay.
and they're my stories that I'm telling. And I found that a lot of women, and believe it or not, men have reached out to me and said, "Wow, I understand that.
Yeah.
That I have a version of that story. I understand that. Boy, I don't feel so alone now, because even though we know we're not alone, mentally we know
Uh-huh.
that, but emotionally we think we're always alone. So intellectually we just know we're not alone because we're smart, but emotionally we always think we're alone. It's kind of like when people go through a divorce, right? They always think they're the only one going through a divorce, you know. And so it's just interesting that people really reached out to me regarding my life and the different things that happened to me. And they could totally relate to sexual windows. In my case, I had some trauma. I was raped twice, and how I got through those things. But just living in a man's world and the controlling of men and how that changed my behaviors, going through life, and how it changed me in having good relationships,
Of
because I
course.
didn't understand how to manage them.
Right.
And so it took me to 57 years of age to really, okay, say, wait a minute, I got to take my power back, because I've given my power to everybody but myself.
Right.
And so even though, and I'll say this because we're in real estate too, I was always really good at making money, but man, I was really good at spending it too. So
You know that's right.
I was one of those that's like, well, gosh, I just got this money. I'll just go do this, and I'll make myself
Exactly.
look better and make myself look cool,
Yep.
keep my ego. Yeah. So, but I had to learn when the market took a dive in 2008 that I was on the bottom part of that, making that money. And so all of a sudden things stopped a little bit. And I had to start shifting and pivoting and figuring out how to do it. But I
Absolutely.
did it because I took my power back, not only from men, but from my life, for relationships, for business, everything.
Everything.
I took my power back, and it's the best thing I could have ever done. Where now I live in my life, I feel peaceful, because I didn't have that peace before, and I was,
Right.
going through all this stuff, and you're going home and you're working your butt off, and then you go home and you're crying because it's like, oh my God, they don't know how I feel like shit, and
Right.
and that guy made me feel bad, but I just smiled at him anyway, just because I got to keep a stiff upper lip because I don't want to upset anybody,
Right.
because I you become those people pleasers.
Oh, sure.
And I stopped. I hated it. I wanted to be able to have boundaries and say no and feel good. And now, because of when I didn't decided, and it's so important that people realize that you have to be willing and wanting to change. That's when it will happen.
Yep.
I can't change you. Edna can't change you. We
Absolutely.
have to want to change ourselves and be willing to do the work and put it into it. And And since I did, everything started turning around for me. And I started setting boundaries and saying no. And the first few times, it was hard. It was like, oh God, if I say no, they won't like me, or I can't do that because I have too much on my plate, or I turn down or fired a buyer, or whatever it might be. And I would say no to things that I would just take on. And man, after about the fourth or fifth no, I was feeling really good. It gives you a feeling of power, personal power, and not ego power. I'm not trying to say that. It's more, it built my confidence back up.
Right.
That I could have boundaries. I need to set boundaries, and nobody seemed to really care that much.
Nope.
It was like, wow, I thought they beat this up. They don't really.
No,
really
they don't care. They don't care. Because
they don't care.
Yeah.
It was only me that was all worried about it.
Yes, exactly. And you know what? They know that there's something going on. And because we forget that a lot of this is energy.
Absolutely.
A lot of it is energy. And some have mastered it. Some have discovered it. And some are using it. Yes. So when you become aware, you have those choices: either use it or master it to become something of another level. And see, that's what's most important in the work that you do in this seen and unseen as an authorpreneur, because that's what you are, girl. You know it.
Yeah. No, and honestly, you asked me at the beginning about how it kind of began. So it was in my head for a long time because it was my story, right?
Right.
And then one day it was one of those things like, I need to get this out. It was kind of my last piece of release, even though I felt good. I was coaching. I'm coaching lots of people and doing lots of things and giving back and doing all these things and being very peaceful and happy. But I felt there was just one last thing I needed to do. And so during COVID, which it wasn't the reason that it was COVID. It's just that, and I didn't actually have that much time. I was busier than ever, but I managed to prioritize and just fit it in because I felt it was important to put out. So I wrote it in about 4 months. I had an editor, and then it was, I have to say, it was quite emotional. I didn't realize writing this book would be so emotional, but it takes you down a road that you thought you went through. And, you kind of went through it again in another way, a different version. But once I released it and the response was so good, I just felt good that, I maybe helped some people. And I had some people definitely reach out to me and say, oh, my God, thank you for doing that. Because even though I know it's your memoir in your life, I felt it because I have a brother that needs to read this, or I have a sister that needs to read this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it was wonderful. And I'm very proud of it. And hopefully we'll write something else. That was the memoir, so I'll probably write something else. But I love storytelling. So
yeah. Well, our lives are stories, girl. Our lives are stories. We're written in the book. We're written in the book. You know that?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
So let me ask you about when you were writing the book. Did you have support when you were writing the book, or is this just something that came out of your head and you just said, okay, I'm going to do it? But was there somebody who was supporting you in that?
Not really. I mean, I did have an editor. So, I hired an editor who happened to be a wonderful person because I knew I'm a good writer. I wouldn't call it I'm a great writer.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to say that I'm not great, but I'm good. But I needed someone to, see what I'm not seeing, or words and spellings and different things like that. Yeah. Because, I think all the best writers have editors, right? Because
absolutely.
You got to have it. So anyway,
absolutely.
So that was my support. She was actually a good support because she was kind of a coach too. So when I was kind of stuck a little bit, she could say, well, go into it and just, talk from your heart.
Right.
And because sometimes, what happens to us? We get into our head.
Oh, absolutely. Right? We start trying to people please again. We go back there.
We have to remind ourselves to drop into our heart.
Absolutely.
And that's where your feeling and your authenticity comes from.
Yeah.
And stuff. So I did have help is doing that, and but it was such a joy. And when I released it, I was just thrilled, and I'm just happy that it's still going. I still do a lot of podcasts on it and radio shows, and it just makes me feel good because I know that it helps people, and people have reached out and told me that it has.
Good.
So that's all I can ask for.
Right. So what advice would you give someone who's wanting to pursue entrepreneurship or writing a book.
Well,
like
first
you.
off, just start like anything. You just got to make the decision to start. I find that anything that you want to do and you want to do it bad enough, you will make it a priority. If you don't want to do it bad enough, you won't. It'll be on the back burner forever. But if it's truly something that it's that I want to, I need to, or you want to release something, just start writing. It doesn't have to be all written in one day. It doesn't have to be written in 6 months. You can just start writing it out or typing it out or whatever, because it doesn't have to be perfect. I think too many people think, oh, but that sounds terrible. The best writers throw away lots of things, right?
Oh, sure.
You have to be able to just start writing and just say what comes naturally to your heart and what you're feeling, and then you can go back and edit it if you want to, and then send it out to somebody else to edit. And then also understanding that nobody is criticizing. It's your story.
Right.
It's your life.
Right.
And you can certainly write it the way you want to, and it's you. And so everybody always thinks that they got to be something or somebody or whatever, and publish it yourself. I mean, mine was self-published, and it still went to a bestseller in 8 different categories. So you can do it, but you have to be willing to take the time. Now, what I did do was when I made the priority to write the book, I made the decision to block out like 3 hours in the morning and just write. Whether I wrote 1 page or 10 pages, sometimes pages come out of you more, faster than other times, right? And you just have to learn to kind of flow with it and just let it go, and not feel like it has to be done at a certain point. But if you have a book in you, just do it, because you know what? You do not want to be on your deathbed looking up and say, wish I woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Right.
I think that there's too many people out there that just put off. And that's what I was kind of doing. It was like, and maybe the timing wasn't right before, and the universe brings the timing correctly and aligns things. I totally believe in that. But if you truly want to do it, you will make it a priority, and you'll start it. You'll just start it and keep moving. Maybe it'll take you a year to write it. Doesn't matter.
That's
but
right.
At least you're moving forward. Baby steps.
That's right. This is so great for the audience and I to get to know all about your book. And I appreciate you for telling us all about this. Now we're going to flip the tables so we can learn more about you, Patricia Love. So, what was the best compliment you ever received in your life? There you go. I'll use that one.
The best compliment. You know what? I don't know if I would consider it a compliment, but I took it as a learning thing and a compliment. You know how, like, I was basically dressed up or whatever, and this person comes up to me and says, "Well, you look really nice today." And I said, "Oh, you know what? My hair is all funky."
Oh, Lord.
And, like we all do, right? Oh, really?
Right.
My hair right, and you wasn't sure about this color, and the guy, and it was a guy actually,
yeah.
And he says to me, "Why don't you just say thank you?"
Yes. Where is he at? Where is he?
That stuck with me, and that actually built a lot of confidence. It's like, why do we do that to ourselves? Why do we say, "Oh, this whole thing," or "I did lipstick"?
No confidence. No confidence. We don't love ourselves. We don't love ourselves.
We don't love ourselves. And when you start to say, when I learned to just say again, no, and then thank you. So now I always, if somebody compliments me now, I say, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I get all happy.
It feels so good. It feels good, and it builds me up.
Yes.
I celebrate myself, and it starts to build confidence in yourself.
Exactly. That is so great. I love that because, I love to say no with a period. That's my favorite word, no with a period. And thank you with an exclamation mark, and keep it moving. So if you could, Patricia, get a billboard with anything on it, what would it say and why?
If I could be on a billboard?
If you could have a billboard all to you only, and you write something on it, what would it be?
It would say, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Woo! Say it slower.
If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Woo! Nice.
And why I would write that is actually a Wayne Dyer quote, but I live by
this quote. Yes, it is.
Because it's I come up to a lot of situations a lot of times, and I have to stop instead of getting in my head. I have to say, wait a minute, if I change the way I look at this, the things I look at change, and I just kind of talk it out, and it helps answer problems, questions, and I get to it rather than being stuck, and it helps me get unstuck.
Yes, absolutely. Sure, that's great. That's a really great one. So, last question about you. What would your last meal be?
Oh, that's easy. And I don't know. I wouldn't probably call it a meal.
Okay.
But I may have to have two things. There's two favorite things in mind. First off, the caprese. I love a good caprese, tomatoes and mozzarella cheese.
Ah.
But I probably have to mow it down with a cinnamon roll.
Good one.
Those are my two favorite things in the world: cinnamon rolls and caprese. So I'm always on the outlook for the best of.
That's nice. That's good. That's good. Okay. So thank you, Patricia Love, for really being here today. What are your final thoughts or your best tips that you can share with other women who are considering going into business, transitioning and don't know what to do, or in business? What is your best tip for them?
My best tip would to tell them to, well, there's a couple of things, but stop, pause, same thing, stop and pause and listen to your intuition and trust it. Because we don't listen to our intuition enough.
No,
and our
we don't.
Intuition, 99.999% of the time, is always correct.
Yep.
So when you're in business, relationships, whatever it might be, you have it in you. You have that intuition. Trust it.
Trust it,
and, that will build
very
confidence.
Important. Absolutely. So that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you for listening, audience. If you enjoyed the episode and you'd like to keep helping support us, please share it with others. Send a review, send us some support, and post on social media. Now, I want to announce that Patricia Love is going to be part of this new episode that we're doing on YouTube, where you can find me, Edna White, The Soul Conversation. Just Google it. I'm there. But she is going to be part of being the only Black woman in the room. The view from everyone in the room. That's going to be exciting. So I want you to be there. I want you to be there. So make sure you look out for it. Go on YouTube, look me up, put subscribe so we can be on one accord. So we'll be there. Patricia Love, thank you so much for being here. I thank you so much. And our audience thanks you because we've gotten some information out of you.
I'm always an open book.
I love it. Now remember, audience, always draw abundance and have happiness. And guess what? A whole lot of fun. This is Edna White and Patricia Love signing off for tonight's episode. Bye for now.